You make a travel show. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's insane. I'm just a corporate slave here.
Is your family okay with all this? I mean, you travel so much. How will you manage it after marriage? घर पे कौन रहेगा?
मीडिया में हो, ट्रैवल जॉब करते हो. सॉरी बेटा, ऐसे बच्चों को ना हम तो घर देते ही नहीं है. Only married women with stable jobs.
You guys are the anchors for the show, right? Oh, you're not? Then what do you do?
You three are the only female crew member in the entire team. I mean, only women. How?
Hi, I'm the CEO of this big hotel that's organizing your free stay, and I'd like to meet your director. Hi, sir. My name's Aishwarya. We've been in touch. You're the director? Hang on, what? You're the director? So that's the kind of reactions we guys are met with.
But the point isn't about abandoning the notions of how travel looks like or having the most cool job in the world or something like being women professionals in a male-dominated scenario or, as people say, being women who wouldn't be able to sustain lives after marriage.
You've heard those clichés, you've heard it all the while, and you'll probably be hearing it all the time. But the truth is, right now, this afternoon is our story.
Okay, so I want to start by asking everyone a question. How many of you present here thinks that a job related to travel actually looks as sought after, as cool as social media has been putting it for us?
The bombardment of travel websites, every Instagram filter,
Every cover photo on Facebook or every second guy's profile picture on Tinder tells you how should a cool travel look like.
I want to tell you what my job looks like, and it's nowhere related to that guy over there. Nowhere, closely.
change it. That's how we look.
Hi, I'm Aishwarya, the one over there.
Hi, this is Akriti, the one in red bag.
Hi, I'm Mrigashree, and we together are the directors for a travel show called You Got Magic on NDTV Good Times. And today we are going to be de-glamorizing travel showmaking for you.
So when we started out with the show, all that was given to us was this one single term, magic. Now, you know, magic in the Indian context is as vague as it gets because we're a big country, geographically talking, culturally talking, we're a huge country. And there's bombardment of people, communities, practices, customs, everything else, right? So our job was to basically find out how to combine all of these words in the larger realm of magic. And that was when we came up with the idea of a road trip that was directed at finding magic in the little-known pockets of India. 2 years down the line, we're 26 episodes old, have met hundreds of people, documented 1,000 more stories, and actually found magic in the very soul of India. It's people. So my job in this entire thing, apart from doing that, obviously, is centered around designing the entire creative skeletal framework of the show. So I write scripts, I look at pre-production, apart from just going out there and shooting it. Now, this is interesting because all that I have to myself in order to create a 25-minute worth long of episode for television later is just a laptop and, of course, the name of the place. Now, you know, travel writers are people who visit a place, experience things firsthand, come back, sit in peace, devote their times into writing about that particular place or their experiences. I, on the other hand, have the rather strange job of sitting in an AC room back in Delhi and figuring how a village somewhere off in Himachal with the most unpronounceable name would actually look, smell, and feel like. And that is where, as a scriptwriter and as a filmmaker, I do the job of separating the real from the fictional. So I'd like to share this incident with you, apart from the numerous incidents that happened with me while on my job. I was scripting lines for a particular village in Udaipur, and the person who I was in touch with had given me the idea, of course the local person, had given me the idea of a very sustainable, very modern, agriculturally driven village. But here's what I see on the day. I see women tight-roping. There's great clamor amidst music and chanting, and I realize that these guys don't understand a word of Hindi. And that's what my script was all about. My script was a mix of both Hindi and English. And here I am at a place where there is a huge language impediment. So I politely pack my stuff off. I have my 11-member crew with me. I ask them to quickly pack everything up, and I head off to another village to scout out for new lines. So, and again, there are so many places that I go to. You know, there's some or the other barrier that's always encountered. I think the history of a place plays a very important role in shaping its current demography. I think people all over, are a constant result of many years of cultural evolution. And as a writer, it's very important that I essence this out in my writing, because wherever I went, I saw that, everyone holds their culture very dearly to them. People are very attached to their roots. People are very proud of their roots, no matter who these people are, whoever, from whatever strata of society, whatever segment, but everyone's very proud of their culture. So I have to ensure that the kind of jargons or the catchphrases that I'm writing for a city, for example, if I'm writing something for Calcutta, it has to be markedly different from something that I'm writing for a Goa or a Gujarat or a Shimla somewhere up north, right? So all along, we're fed with very romanticized and very fabled versions of cities and of places in general, where you're told that the older part of a city will be essentially more beautiful or more exotic than the newer part, obviously. But here's the thing. When you're on the spot, you realize it's a far cry. That's not what reality looks like. So I was shooting in Varanasi, which is, it's touted as the most holy city in all of India for Hindus, and going by which it's supposed to be very serene, very calming, and it's supposed to bring about that sort of an experience for you. But here's what happens for real. So we guys are shooting in Varanasi by the Ghats. There's a certain lassi segment that we need to shoot, and we're at a particular shop. For the first 10 minutes of my shoot, my entire process was disrupted for every 10 bodies that passed us by, dead bodies that passed us by. Now, here's a city which looks very nice probably on camera, in magazines, on the internet, but which is extremely markedly different from what an insider would know or what an insider would experience. So that's the duality, that's the juxtaposition that I've got to deal with. Indian cities, especially for that matter, are very difficult to maneuver. They're stubborn and they're rough as hell. And time and again, they'll make you realize that you're an absolute nobody in their land. You versus the city is such a huge, there's a huge gap between you and the city. And unless you open yourself up to people out there, unless you enlarge your system, it won't be able to accommodate the best of stories that you have out there. And again, that's, as a responsible filmmaker, it's important for me to go out there without any sense of judgment, any preconceived notions, whatever I've read on the internet or whatever I've heard and seen so far in life. I've got to unlearn all of that and go there as a fresh, with a fresh, open mind, right? Now, in times like these, the camera becomes a very important device because it's a non-judgmental device. It looks at things very objectively. So I'd like to share another incident where I was shooting in the Dharavi area of Bombay, very sensitive area, obviously. The person who was helping me coordinate with things in general had given me a gentle heads up that every time I point my camera at someone to take their snapshot, I should permit myself. And I was following that, right? So I'm going around shooting and I spot this old Muslim gentleman with very soft features, and I think, theek hai, inse mujhe acha photo ja sakta hai, I should go up to him. So I walk up to him and I politely ask him, sir, kya main aapki tasveer utar sakti hu? And here's what he had to say. He said, madam, meri tasveer khinch ke kahin aap mera terrorist to nahi banaoge? Now, to say that I was moved, I was left dumbfounded, I was speechless would be an utter understatement, obviously. But here's what I realized. That moment on, I knew that, everyone out there is carrying their own excess baggage with themselves. Could be anything, and it's written all over them. So as an individual, and of course as somebody in the industry, I do not have the right to judge your situation or your problem at any cost. But why I mentioned the camera is because the camera as a device empowers me to look at these things objectively, to not judge them, and when I'm bending on streets at odd angles, taking pictures, taking snapshots, and being observed by people, I realize a thing like this doesn't require me to look pretty. I say this not as a woman filmmaker or as a woman entrepreneur. I say this as any other working individual who's had the liberty, the privilege to engage with the hilarity, the chaos, the absolute beauty that India is. So I just have to say one thing. that, the world is not about us versus them. It's not a battleground. It's not men versus women. It's not travelers versus cities. It's not you versus me. It's about me with you. It's us with them. Because we're not women first. We're people first. And as people in the media, as people in the industry, it's our foremost responsibility that we bring you the most honest, the most unadulterated, and the best of stories. And that's where you find magic. So, sorry, there's no picture sheet to show you guys that, but yeah. I have more people taking it forward.
Is this okay? Okay. So when you're making a travel show, it's very important. It was very important for us to establish the visuals of the city. I play an important role in designing the concept for the show and the format for the show. And I do cinematography very extensively. So, while shooting across India, also as a traveler, I always try to travel as a traveler, not as a tourist, because it restricts your thought process a lot. So when I travel, I figured that one of the interesting ways to look at a city is to basically give it character to the city. That character that I'm talking about, I know it sounds very weird, very different, that how can you give a character to a city? But trust me, a city can be timid, it can be young, it can be mystical, it can be grand, it can be royal. So this character that I'm talking about, it doesn't come at the first sight. When you see something, it doesn't really, it's not the first impression. You have to unravel the first layer in order to know what stories lie behind the lanes and every gullies of the city. So when you enter a city, this is what I generally do, that I always treat it like an empty blackboard. And I believe the chalks all come out of your head. And, and whatever you draw on that blackboard, it depends on you. So this has been the most learning experience for me. And I do, as I said, that I do camera extensively. I change a lot while doing camera, by interacting with people, by talking to people. Now, I'll tell you an interesting thing about making a travel show is that we'll never show you the bad news. We're not the news channels. We're not the filmmaker. We're not the cinema people. We won't romanticize a place for you. We'll show you the real picture, but the picture which is a good picture. And it's very important to. And this picture stems out of people. It stems out of how they speak, jargons, the sights and sounds you see in a place, in an alley. So if you're traveling to a city, and if you think that something is different, you generally tend to become very skeptical, very, you don't trust people. But trust me, locals in a city, they won't hurt you. They always want to share the story, especially if you're traveling with a camera. They'll always want to share their stories. They'll always want to tell you who they are, what they are. And in the process, I realized that, in literature, this really happens, that, we're always told that there's something called the other. Now, of course, if you see it from that perspective, of course, everything will seem like the other. But the truth is that you need to make that other a magnet for you. Now, you may go to Imambara in Lucknow, click yourself a selfie against the monument. You may go to Taj Mahal and, click a picture there. Or you might just go to Jaisalmer, click a picture there. But trust me, the fun starts, when you talk to the kids in front of Taj Mahal who can speak in Spanish. You can speak. They can speak in Spanish, French, in any language they want to, and they can even say shairis. So the fun starts when you actually talk to these people. And okay, I don't think I'll have time. So I'd like to conclude my whole experience by saying that from the streets of Jaisalmer, to the streets of Lucknow, or the beaches in Goa, I figured that. When I zoom into to the blackboard, the empty blackboard, which is still getting filled up, I see a lot of stories, I hear a lot of noise, I hear a lot of music. But when I zoom out, I see a very clear picture of myself, I see a lot of magic in it. And I also figure that the more I see it, I realize that I need to be more sure of myself. And, the more I accept people, the more diverse the world seems to me, and the more I accept that diversity, the more sure I am going to be of myself. So yeah, I think that is it. So much.
Hi, I think how much time do we have? 2 minutes, okay. So the great big picture that Akriti talked about is a great thing to achieve. It's very beautiful, but it's easy, you can achieve that. But when you're 18, when we're your age, you are young, you're malleable, you you're very confused about what life is going to give you forward. I remember I come from a very small town called Nainital, where people up north go there for holidays. So when I was out, I hadn't seen much of the world, and I was in college, and when I was 18, I was really scared of even thinking of what's going to happen after college, after I returned from the last day of college from my last lecture. And especially when you're thinking of walking a path that's less traveled in terms of your career, these apprehensions and these fears look you in the eye and they scare the hell out of you. But today, standing on the other side of the fence, I'm 25, I've been in this career for the last 3 years, and at least I'm assured of the fact that the career choice I made was fine enough. So I would actually want to go back to my 18-year-old self today and tell her and tell all of you in return that a lot of things that I thought were weird and peculiar and very strange about me, had they not been there, I wouldn't be where I am. I'm sure a lot of you practice a lot of things which others may deem important, and you sort of closet them because the people who know better than you apparently tell you that they're not going to lead you anywhere. But the truth is that you're an individual. All of you have your own stories. You're made of a character, and that's what is your signature. That's what's making you unique. So I'm not going to give you the do's and don'ts of what to do and what not to do when you're 18. Instead, I'm going to run you through two of my very embarrassing habits that I had. And really, if I did not have them, if I had closeted them, I wouldn't be anywhere. I wouldn't be here talking to you. Habit number one, embarrassing habit number one. I'm sure all of you have a very interesting relationships with your bathroom. I mean, it's one place where all of your oral fantasies sort of come true, right? It's lovely to sing in the bathroom and listen to you. To yourself. I had a different relationship with my bathroom. I would not sing, but I would impersonate characters. So I had my towel, I had my soap, I had everything else, and I would actually talk to them. And I would sound something like, "Ab hum sabun uthayenge, aur ab hum use niche rakh denge." So pretty funny. I mean, for somebody at 20 doing this is really funny. And 4 years from the time I was 18, I was sitting in the studio when I was 23, doing my first voiceover. And it was this strange habit that had already taught me what voice modulation meant, how one character sounded different from another character. So a lot of things were learned thank you to the sabun that I picked up every day. Second embarrassing habit, and I tell you, all of those who practice this habit would know what a closeted affair this is, baby talking. I'm sure a lot of you do this with your moms, with your brothers, with your friends, spouse, whatsoever. It's very awkward to put that alternate self of you out, who is actually talking with air, food, and everything else and living in another world. But understand that if you do something like that, you have the power to create characters. You have the power to actually layer them. You have the power to create an alternate world. And if you realize this is the very basics of animation today, this creating another world is the basics of a lot of other signature stories that are coming on. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you have strangeness and peculiarity within you, please don't abandon it, pursue it, nurture it. It is going to take you somewhere, because if at all you're trying to think of a path that hasn't been traveled enough, you have the opportunity to make your brand, to make your signature. And whenever you're communicating ideas to people, you're always giving a brand out. I mean, you want it or you don't want it. All of us become a brand the moment we start communicating to people and giving ideas out in the market. So with this strangeness, it's really going to be helpful. I'm going to just quickly tell you about how we went about with the brand that we are working on. You Got Magic with Neil Madhav. Like Aishwarya said, when we started out, we had one word called magic. That's all we knew. And we had a magician. Now, as a team, the challenge that we had on us was that how is it that we are going to make this brand seep into the everyday lives of people? That was a big challenge because this was an umbrella term. So we thought that apart from the travel show that we were already doing, I mean, we're in the lag 3 of it. It's the 3rd season we're shooting at the moment. So we thought, what are the other things that could be done? So we came up with magic books, which are going to be out in the market soon. We did a lot of events. We really thought that making our digital platform strong is going to be very interesting. And what we did about it was we gave in magical stories. So magical people, magical food, magical landscape. These were different things that we pocketed and collected together. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that strangeness is really going to be strangeness, peculiarity, signature style, branding, all come together to give out a great way of communicating with people. And I would like to end by saying that whatever your dream is, whatever you want to do in future, even if you think others are saying that it's unimportant, start practicing it, go out, it's very easy to shoot, go around, shoot anything that you want to, put it up on YouTube, put it up here and there. People are going to watch it, and if the idea is different, it's really going to work. And we have a very contrived notions of people, cultures, and cities around. It's very important to go out. As an individual, just travel more. One second. Just travel more, talk more to people, share your stories, get stories back. And I'd only want to say in the end that if you have a passion, treat it like your child. It'll give you bad, it'll give you good, but in the end, don't abandon it because it's yours.
That was it from us. I hope you guys liked it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.